Hello everyone, this is Attorneys with Swag, show you come to watch to see attorneys have a chill out conversation amongst themselves about trials and tribulations of being an attorney, the joys of having a job. I'm here with my fellow hosts and special guest.
Everett Hopkins, originally born and raised in Queens, and now I'm a criminal defense attorney coming back practicing in New York.
I'm Kevin Michels. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin originally. Went to University of Minnesota for law school. Ended up in New York as a public defender. I love it here.
Jubril Oladirin, Jamaica, Queens. Practice in the areas of criminal law towards immigration and civil rights.
And I'm Eugene Toussaint, born and raised in the Bronx. I'm a public defender.
Can we change that? The inaugural guest.
I'm the inaugural guest?
The inaugural guest. Yo, Eugene, say it. Inaugural.
When did you first realize you wanted to be an attorney?
Well, I'm an African man, so it's kind of chosen for me. You know, as an African, they tell you you have three choices.
They told you what to do?
Yeah, they tell you what to do. You either be a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer. You know, that's what it is. So
That makes sense.
it's kind of chosen for me initially, and then I guess like throughout my life, like I've just had experiences that I just wanted to advocate for people. I remember being in school, right, and like advocating for rights of like others. Like it started, I guess, like bullies.
What grade?
Wow, what
Yeah.
grade? I think I was in primary school. So yeah, I started out. This is when I was in England, and you know, there was a couple of things happening. I guess like bullies, and like I used to stand up to bullies and advocate for them, and like I used to challenge teachers and whatnot, and like they used to say like, oh, you're really good. You have good articulable skills. You should be a lawyer. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, oh, maybe I should be a lawyer. Maybe my mom is correct. I should be a lawyer.
Okay.
And then that kind of transitioned to other things.
So you stood up to that bully?
I stood up to that
Did
bully.
he punch you in that face?
He did not punch me in the face. He attempted to. You know, I could fight. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like,
yeah?
So I kind of like did a little roll move and like. I'm not gonna really
You wanna
talk
show us?
about.
You wanna show us that?
Wait, hold on.
break his ankles?
I think the statute of
Does anyone else have a
limitations-
distinct memory of when they realized this is what they wanted to do?
I mean, I always wanted to do this. I mean, first, my dad's a lawyer, but he didn't do criminal law. He did civil law. But so I was basically raised in a household where like the law was always there. But I always wanted to do criminal law because I wanted to advocate for people, you know, to try to, like you said, like, you know, help, you know. And I think that, especially, you know, in Jamaica, Queens, which is also where I'm from.
Shout out Jamaica, Queens.
You heard. So it's, you know, you see people get pulled over by the police all the time. You see people get arrested all the time. So, you know, it's the textbook stories of why I wanted to be a lawyer because, you know, first, because I think you can obviously help people. But second, being a black man in a country that doesn't really value your life, like, it's like a fuck you to the government. You know, like, you know, I'm gonna be a lawyer. And not only that, I'm not gonna just be a lawyer, but I'm also gonna stand up to the government because I wanna do defense work. So I think that's like, you know, motivating me, you know, to be a criminal defense attorney. So.
How about you, Kevin?
That's a good transition because I'm a white kid from the Midwest.
Really?
Yeah.
I can never tell.
So I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, which is very liberal. So I cared about a lot of the issues that are going on with the criminal justice system. And I went to law school thinking I was going to go into big firms and shit. And what made me go to law school was me trying to be an engineer to start, and then hating biochem and going to organic chemistry.
Doctor, engineer.
Yeah, right.
I don't believe you took organic chemistry. I do not believe that at all.
I was like, I'm not going to do that. So I was like, I'm going to be
Your mom was African?
I can't even try to do the accent.
Let's not.
Yeah, let's not, yeah. But like, I was a psych major, and I realized that like a lot of the people doing psych PhD kind of master's type stuff were focusing on like the research was on undergraduate like white kids. Like it was like for extra fucking credit. Like this is not the population that I want to study or what I'm interested in. And I freaked out because at the end of fucking undergrad, I had my whole life planned out, and then I just like freaked out. My dad was so mad at me, and like didn't understand like what I was doing, and I was like, what are my assets? Like, what I have the gift of gab, like you do. That's what my mom used to say. She used to think, sorry, that's some Midwest shit. It's like I can speak in bullshit, right? Yeah. But like my grandmother always said I should be a politician. I never thought about that, but like I thought about like my skills and the things that I care about.
Is he complimenting him or is he offending him?
That's what I'm trying to figure it out.
It's a little bit of both.
You know,
Don't worry about it.
Talk. I've seen you.
So you didn't realize it until college.
I didn't realize it until the end of college, which is crazy because I like freaked out. And I was like, I'm gonna go to law school. And my dad's like, yo, you're gonna put all this money into this, and like you don't even like. I thought it was like maybe be like a family law attorney because my parents were divorced or fucking like big firm. Like I was like, this seems like a good avenue for my skill set. So it was like a fucking gamble, and I ended up here, and I'm so grateful and blessed to have this position that I have.
So I was trying. From my memory, I've always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. Well, I wanted to be a lawyer, doctor. I can't remember why. It wasn't like my parents were telling me. It was like I watched television, and I was like, if you want to be successful, become a lawyer, doctor.
I'm gonna say from the Bronx.
It was television. I didn't know any lawyers.
No, I'm saying, but y'all had TV in the Bronx.
Oh, really? Oh, my God. Wow. Okay. Wow. That's how we're doing the first one?
Wow.
Yes.
So there's people in the Bronx waiting for you outside.
I know, right? Yo, y'all gotta walk me outside.
On television, there's a lot of lawyers and doctors. They were just the epitome of success. If you ended up in those two places, that means you are successful.
Did you watch Law and Order?
I don't know. I don't remember, man. Tell a story.
See how they do?
So that's the memory. I know I had that from a very young age. But in preparation of the first episode, I was trying to think, what's the first memory I actually have of that mattering, of me making a decision that was like, well, because I'm going to law school, I need to think about this college, or because I'm going to law school, I need to think about that. And truth be told, the first time I remember thinking about being a lawyer was getting this tattoo. And it made me think that like how much the world has changed from when I got this tattoo. I got this tattoo when I was a junior in college. Not college, high school. I'm sorry, in high school. So what, 2005, maybe 2004?
Was that with your parents' permission?
My dad actually forced me to get this tattoo. Wow. Don't want to go into details about that. But basically it was like this tattoo was basically like a sign of solidarity to my brother he had a similar tattoo. He is having legal problems, so my dad thought it was a good idea. I was 17, right? And he basically cajoled me to get this tattoo.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, in reference to this conversation, this tattoo is gonna be the reason I can't get a job. Like this.
While you were getting it?
While I was getting it. In 2004, I remember the society being in a way where like if you had the wrong haircut, you might not get a job. If you had the wrong tattoos, you might not get a job. So like it's crazy how much things have changed because it's not really like that anymore. But that's like the first memory I have where it's like I want to be a lawyer. This fucking asshole is gonna make me get a tattoo that's gonna keep me from being a lawyer. That doesn't make any sense. That's how much you knew I didn't know about being a lawyer. Because they wear long sleeve shirts.
It's not like Tahir where you roll the sleeves.
I didn't think like how easy it would be.
You're good.
But that's like the first memory I had about I want to be a lawyer. This is like a decision is gonna affect what I can do and not do that. Did you guys all get into the law school? Did you guys wanted to? Like what did you? Like, what changed from what you thought it was going to be to it being in terms of going into law school?
I took the LSAT 3 times.
Same.
You took the LSAT 3 times?
I got a.
Did you get better?
I got so I got like a 158, and then I like took like a course for like $1,000, and then I like scored lower.
You want to say the name of the course? What's the name of the course you took?
Yeah, fuck that course. Say it. Blow them up.
The OG was Princeton Review. Fuck that shit. Power Score was like I felt like I had like it was good with Power Score, but then I scored lower, and I was like, what? It was like a notorious logic game, whatever. Like logic games, like question.
So
You look stressed
but wait,
thinking about that
I'm
shit.
just thinking about it. And then I just took practice tests for 6 months straight, and I scored 10 points higher, which is like unheard of for like an LSAT.
What was your first score?
158.
And you felt you could do better?
Yeah. You know what's the funny thing is? I took a training program
Top 10 shit.
before my first test. Got a 154.
Yeah, we all work in the same position.
Yeah,
Get paid the same salary.
That would be my punchline. At a 154.
Just for people who don't know, the LSAT is the entry exam to different law schools that everyone has to take.
Yeah.
And
it's
the
basically
the
like
highest
that.
score you can get is 180. So,
It's the SATs of law school, basically. Right? That's the easiest way to say it.
Here's what I don't tell people though, is that I went to a very low tier law school, or like whatever it was, like 100 something like that. Not
Shout
low
out to
tier.
your law school. What law school is it?
St. Thomas.
Shout out St. Thomas.
Shout out St. Thomas. So seriously, it's Catholic. We had like the
Law
dude-
school.
The dude who wrote the terror memos with John Yoo and shit like that. People were protesting outside because it was like a religious institution. It was weird. But I worked my ass off for that first year, and then I realized that like the market, when we all fucking went to school, the job market sucked. Like
While we were in it. But
People-
when we were in our first year of law school,
the
they were
job
like,
market-
you made a fucking mistake. Thank you for
100%.
your money.
It was just like
We'll take your money.
we will take your money.
We'll forbear on
So,
these loans as
I
long
was-
as we can. But
I was like, what's gonna make me more marketable? So I transferred to University of Minnesota, which was like top 20. I don't tell people that I went to that first law school. Yeah, I should do that. I should be more honest,
Yeah, you
right?
should.
But I went there, and I don't know if I would have gotten bites in New York, but for going to Minnesota.
So this is the thing that a lot of people don't know, right? In the sense of like getting into a good law school. So I took a prep course. Did not put enough energy into it. Got a 154. Put things off. So I didn't apply to the last day you could apply to St. John's. So I didn't get in. Now, I got into a bunch of other schools, but quick Google search, those not law schools you want to go to. Trash ass law schools. Trash.
Wow.
I noticed like a tier
the one
system
in
to this
Michigan?
shit, and it was like tier 4 or some crazy.
There's no 40.
I don't fucking know what it was. It was like full scholarship. Like what? I'm not going to
You
your
need like a
school.
3.6.
Yeah.
Determined super
So
high, and then you lose
I
that
got.
scholarship right
So I'm
away.
like, all right. I'm not gonna. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to take a year off. I ended up doing a year of MBA, and I'll reapply, and I'll study and retake the LSAT.
What'd you get?
I did not retake the LSAT.
Interesting.
Well, I spent the whole semester of that 1 year I took for the MBA. I was studying for the MBA for my MBA. That first semester I was studying for the LSAT, and then I realized I'm not studying that well. I probably will do worse on this fucking test. So I didn't take it. But what I did do was I applied early applications to St. John's, right? Like early admissions, right?
Early
Not
admissions,
applications,
yeah.
early admissions.
Does it really help?
And just doing that
Apparently.
took me from the waiting list to St. John's. And they actually, the year before I went to law school, they actually took me from the waiting list to, they said I can come to the school, but it was like a week before law school started. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that shit. I'll just wait a year. But just changing my application date got me from the wait list to a $15,000 scholarship.
Hell yeah.
Wait.
Really?
So
Yeah.
So maybe they liked you, or like you were on the waiting list and you would have gotten in,
Well, so
but for the candidates that applied before you.
So I talked to people about it, and basically the conversations I had, because like obviously this is kind of like a weird thing, and they basically said that one, in the beginning, every law school is kind of slightly more laxed on like who they accept and don't accept to their schools,
beginning?
because like they don't know if this is going to be a great year and have so many applicants that they can just be strict about it. But as like, let's say they have 200 spots or 100 spots, as they fill them up, they become more strict, and that as they really fill them up, they start to like hold seats for like basically favors, like like say, someone who's like donated a dorm to the school wants their daughter to go to fucking school or some shit like that.
Oh yeah.
No one officially said that,
No,
but like that's
you
basically
know-
the
you know what I'm
implication.
saying?
Or if you got $1 million, like what's going on?
Yeah, like
Now,
stuff like that. Like
so-
they're basically they're being selective.
Who told you this?
I can't recall.
Where did you go?
Cutie. I went to Cutie.
Where did you go?
I went to Toro.
Okay, so I spent like a shit ton of law school. Keeney is a little bit cheaper for people that live in New York, right?
For everybody.
For
Yeah, for everybody, yeah.
But like, it really doesn't matter. Like, I think that like no,
depends
but
what you
yeah,
wanna
but
That's what
do.
you want to do with
yeah,
your
like,
life.
depends
sometimes
what you
like
wanna
Harvard and Yale, like the people that are public, they're so out of touch, like
Oh,
with,
yeah, no,
like, the
yeah.
population.
You
they
went to
represent.
Harvard.
But let's be very clear. All right, so that's a good transition. It's a good time to go to one of our recurring segments. This is laws you don't know you want to know, and for the first inaugural laws you don't know you want to know segment.
Yeah,
This is
You gotta
how
have that
your
logo, bro.
phone password has legal consequences. So we all know that there's different ways to put a password on your phone, right? And there's biometrics, fingerprints. iPhone got the new eye scan, right? And then there's the old school pin code or zigzaggy thing.
Zigzaggy thing, yeah.
I'm a zigzagger, but depending on which one you pick, will actually affect the ability for the government to get into your phone, because the government can get into your phone if you decide to use biometrics. Biometrics, which is your fingerprint or your eye retina, right?
Or face.
Your face. Oh, iPhone uses your face now.
Yeah. Pixel as well.
That is actually not considered self-incriminating information. And the same way that the government, and by the government I mean police or anyone, the prosecutor, can demand that you give them your fingerprints to identify you. They can also demand that you give access to your fingerprint or your retina or your face to open your phone. But if you end up using like a PIN code, they consider that knowledge, and for them to force you to give that to the government, they consider that to be self-incriminating, which is protected by the Fifth Amendment. So you actually would not have to do that. So if you actually put a PIN code in your phone, and for whatever reason they want to get into your phone, a court order under most jurisdictions would not be able to force you to give it to them. Whereas like if you have your fingerprint, they can force you to put your finger on that phone.
So if a cop takes my Pixel 4 XL that has face unlock and just like puts it in my face, is that a search or is that not a search?
Not a search. They can do that.
Not a search. Well, they might need a court order to get access, to get permission to go into your phone. But if there's a doorway, which is unlocking your phone,
yeah,
a court could demand that you unlock that phone to execute that search warrant.
Okay.
Right?
The idea is that they can't go into your mind and try to because your password's in your mind.
Or your zigzag.
Right, or your zigzag,
Yeah.
whatever. So they can't demand that you put what's in your mind onto your phone so they can get into it. But if they just passively use your fingerprint, hold it up to your face, whatever it takes to unlock it that way, they can do that.
So moral of the story, PIN code, zigzag is the best way to protect
No, the
yourself.
moral of the story is if you're and you have all your business dealings on your phone, do not use facial scan, do not use retinas, do not use any of that.
That is not the moral of the story.
That's
not the moral of the story.
Until
The
Reapplying.
moral of the story
As
is that
attorneys, we can represent clients that maybe
this is also a good opportunity to put a disclaimer. None of the opinions or representations in this show should be
all legal advice. They are not legal advice.
They're not legal advice for sure, and they also should not be associated with our employers.
Which
this show has
are
not
not
popped
named.
off yet. I need a job. I need a job next week. That's a good transition. Who went into law school wanting to be a public defender? I know you practice criminal law, but that sounds a lot like a public defender to me.
I did both. I did private, and I practiced as a public defender.
Okay. Who went into law school knowing that's what they wanted to do?
Okay, so let me start by this, right? Prior to going to law school, I guess that was the area I wanted to practice in, because I guess exposure as
What do you mean by exposure?
exposure to the criminal justice system.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Well, through my compadres. And
Did you have a job in the criminal justice system, Jubril?
So the reason why is based on the area of criminal law. Like I was very versed in it, and I was like immersed in it, and I thought, and especially the TV shows, and the lawyers that I was affiliated with, I would do some shout outs, but some lawyers that were,
do your shout outs. Fuck that.
so some big lawyers in New York that are renowned in New York, Brooklyn, Suffolk County, and I did internships with them, and so I thought I was going to be a criminal defense attorney. And
So you met lawyers before you got to law school?
Yes.
I didn't meet a lawyer until I got to law school. Shout out to the Bronx. Shout out to the Bronx.
I didn't know
No
a
examples.
I didn't know a single.
But I still survived.
There is look, our examples. Oh my
Did you
goodness.
feel like it was a natural path for you because of your family or no?
Yeah, because I mean, I loved it. Like, I liked being a lawyer. Like, I thought, like, my dad was mad cool in what he did, but that's just that I wanted to do criminal. Like, criminal was like, you know, it was sexy, you know, because, you know, you watch Law and Order and everything.
Yeah, like the way,
Yeah, you know, but at the same time, it's like, it focused on the prosecution. I'm like, that don't sound right, though. What they doing, can they really do this? Cops doing that? Just busting down doors?
Stabler is definitely
place,
violating
you know?
everybody's Fourth
So,
Amendment
like,
rights.
you know, it made me question it, and the more I questioned it, I was like, you know what, let me go see what this criminal stuff is about. And then I actually interned with a DA's office, and then, you know, it was cool.
So when you went to law school, you know you wanted to be a criminal defense attorney / public defender?
I didn't know I wanted to be a public defender. I wanted to do law, right? And I wanted to do criminal law, whether that's private criminal defense, whether that's prosecution, you know, either one.
And you figured it out once you was in it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
And
funny
you?
because I did like was it OCI, like the on-campus interviewing for like big firms and stuff like that. The DA's office was one. I interviewed with the DA's office, and like I was like trying to sit there and think about like North Minneapolis, like gangs, and like trying to like be like this.
There's gangs in Minneapolis?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
like trying to Chicago.
Yeah,
shooting
really?
all the time.
What?
Really?
Now you got mad when I brought up the Bronx and y'all have a TV.
Jesus.
You gonna say that to this
No,
man?
like,
Well, I'm sorry.
I remember.
I think Minneapolis is a paradise that doesn't have gangs, and that's somehow as offensive as you asking if the Bronx has television.
See, that's Bronx thinking.
But so
All right, go ahead.
I had this interview and I was like trying to like sell it, like I want to clean up this and like you know prosecute this and make sure like it's safe and shit like. And I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm not connected to this community.
So but when you first started law school, then you didn't know what you wanted to do.
No, I thought maybe family law or maybe big firm type stuff, but when like I interviewed with the DA's office, I was like, what am I doing? And then when I did the PD's office, it's so individualized with like the person that like it was easy. It was so much more focused and like I think that like I remember. Well, I'm not gonna get into a case, but like there's just so much like injustice that I saw like immediately, and like it was fun just to like write and be like scathing, like, and then also just sort of like meet the clients and stuff like that, and like try to like listen, understand, and like I don't know. I just felt like it was. I honestly just felt it was like the only thing that I was fucking passionate about in law school, and then I literally from that moment that I got that job, I took every criminal law, every clinic, every evidence, like every class that I possibly could.
I actually did not want to be a public defender when I went into law school, and I didn't decide I wanted to be a public defender until I got a job. No, that's not when I decided.
Those benefits, though.
No, that's not what I decided.
See, I got a lot of questions.
Well, so this is what it was. This is
You
what it
ever
was.
had like a moment where you wanted to represent?
So I went into St. John's with a $15,000 scholarship, right? And
And what was
like
the tuition then, relative to it?
4 to 5,
my
but I was taking
God,
out living
I'm
loans,
fucking jealous.
70.
It's expensive to go to law school.
It is
I'm
expensive.
glad they
So
did not
I didn't really know. To be told, I didn't. So let me step back. I didn't know any lawyers growing up. And the college I went to, shout out to college in Mount St. Vincent, love you guys, but they didn't really prep me for what it was actually gonna be to go into law school. Basically, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And when I got into law school, like I had this idea that I wanted to be a lawyer and I wanted to be successful, but I didn't know what I was gonna take. I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't really know what it. For example, like I didn't understand the business aspect of being a lawyer. The idea that like your connections matter,
Yes.
like how you actually get jobs, stuff like that. And that, truth be told, that didn't even actually matter at the end of the day because I didn't even have the grades to get some of these jobs because I got fucked up by law school.
Well, even just to address that though, sometimes the right connection, it doesn't even matter about you.
Well, yes. Well,
I definitely know people personally that didn't have good grades, but they in good places right now.
some of my other friends who weren't Hispanic and from the Bronx did not necessarily have as an easy time as I did explaining all this prosecution.
I
on their
imagine if
resume.
you're white with prosecution on your resume, you have
Yeah,
to
it didn't
say
work
a
out too
lot
well.
more.
Did not work out too
Glad I
well.
didn't get that job in first year.
But the crazy, I actually didn't even get an interview with one PD office because that's how strict they were in their their idea of what a public defender applicant should be.
So let me ask you a question, right? You from the Bronx, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell people from the Bronx who want to become a lawyer for different reasons. I have a criminal defense, civil rights, torts, corporate. But what would you tell them?
I would tell them that it's easier and harder than it looks. That's a weird. I would start with easier.
Okay.
What I would say is that the good thing about any profession that is school oriented, and what I mean is that you study in a kind of a structured, kind of like you go from high school to college to law school. That's, to me personally, a lot easier than like being an entrepreneur or becoming like starting your own business or
Making a
becoming
TV
a rapper
show.
or fucking becoming LeBron. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's easier in the sense of like it's on rails. It's structured.
Yeah.
All you have to do is keep fucking showing up to class. Study. I mean, yeah, study.
Do homework.
What do you have to do?
You know what the funny thing
Do the
is?
bare minimum.
I remember when I was in high school. I really felt like the people who were fucking up for dumb reasons. They were fucking up because they weren't showing up to class. Like, they literally were not showing up to class. Like, just if you actually show up to class so that you're not missing class, like, especially in college, if you actually showed up to, like, let's say 95% of your classes,
Unless you get the PowerPoint.
right? Like,
Unless you get the PowerPoint.
well, okay, oh yeah, but this is like
You
advice
show
for the
up, yeah.
spectrum of smart to dumb people, right? And like, if you're really, really smart, then yeah, PowerPoints will be enough.
That's true.
But if you just show up to class, you're probably gonna get an 80 on the 80 on the test. If you study, you're gonna get a 90. And if you just keep doing that process, depending on how good your work ethic is, you either go to law school and do well, or if you breeze through college like I did, you'll go to law school and get fucked up. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think motivation matters too, though. I think like if you're showing up to a class that you don't give a fuck about, then you know it doesn't necessarily mean you won't pass it.
well, no,
You gotta-
this is what I would
you
say,
have to
right?
be internally motivated.
No, but
Yeah.
yes, but I was internally motivated
That's what I'm
to
saying.
become a lawyer.
That's what I'm saying, though. You have to still have that, like.
So,
and-
so I guess, so this is my point. My point is that if I'm giving someone from the Bronx advice, the easy part is that you can do it. It is not undoable. It's super easy to do. You just have to do it. And what's easy about it is just stay on the fucking rails. So like, it's like, do you not want to die on this roller coaster? Then sit the fuck down. If you sit down in this seat and just keep flowing through it, you'll be fine. But you might get scared, right? There might be difficult parts of the ride, but as long as you sit the fuck down, you will finish the ride. And what I mean by sit the fuck down is go to class, study, do your work. The hard part is just doing, like the experience of it. It's gonna be stressful. It's work.
Yeah.
But that's the same work that you're gonna have in any other successful enterprise.
What tier was your law school?
2?
What tier was yours? What tier was yours?
I don't recall.
That sounds like a
That's like,
question
yeah,
a tier
that's
1
what-
person would ask.
The thing is, I think, is that like if you invest yourself in your classes and you work hard, like as you say, like it doesn't really matter what tier law school, what fucking LSAT school you get. I get that like maybe like a law school opens the doors and shit like that, but like ultimately like some of the best lawyers that we have like went like some girl introduced herself from Columbia, and I'm from like I don't even know what Columbia is. Like I was like,
But this is what I would say. As long as you did not graduate law school from 2006 to 2012, you couldn't become a lawyer. That was when the economy crashed and there was no lawyers, no jobs out there.
What happened there?
but like some
But
of
like, I mean,
some of the most like people that, like the people that can relate to our clients the most like didn't go to Harvard or Yale.
yeah. Well, I mean, yes, I think we.
Exactly.
So, all right, so let's.
Yes.
So, how was law school for you guys? Like, how?
So how was one up?
How was one? One up. Fuck me up.
One that was cool for me. I love
Why? Was it just?
I studied like
it.
19 hours.
I mean, like, it was. You know what? When I talk about that internal motivation, like I was genuinely interested in it. So it just and
You were
I guess
interested in torts?
yeah, I was because like I said, like I wanted to do criminal, but I was also open to anything, right? Because you know my dad did civil stuff, so I already knew the language, I already knew some of the law, so I did have that advantage. But also I was genuinely interested in it, so I was cool with it. I didn't really have no problems one hell year.
Did you get advice prior to going into your 1L year?
The only advice
about
I got
classes
was
or
that
Well,
basically
about 1L.
basically that it's a different way of learning. They're trying to teach you how to learn 1 hour a year, right? Because they're trying to change your mind into thinking about a lawyer. Because like really, if you look at any case, there's no wrong answer, right? If you have a case, that would drive you crazy. Because up until that time, you're taught that there's only one answer.
Good.
And so when you get to law school, there's multiple answers. What they care about is your reasoning. Like
I hated not understanding that. That was the part I hated. I didn't understand it.
I went into when I was
What the fuck are you guys talking about?
knowing that. So when I got to the test, I was like, okay, let me just talk, basically kind of fake talk like a lawyer would talk.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what kind of helped me.
I got smoked by one. I got smoked by law school because it took me the whole year to get. That's what the fuck you guys want from me.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Oh shit.
But also, I'm genuinely not like a stressful type, fucking lose my head running around type of person. So
I would say 85%.
So
Hold on. So why were you arguing with that guy outside?
shut up.
I would say 85.
That's not me being a lawyer. That's just me being, from Jamaica Queens.
85% of law school is plugging in like the black letter, like these words and like the buzzwords and shit like that, and then like you get points for that. And I don't necessarily think your reasoning matters. I can sit there and like reason my way through.
The conclusion doesn't matter.
The conclusion, like the end, like yes, but like law school is a formula. You just need to figure out the formula and plug it in. Like that is it. It's just,
was it easier or harder than what you thought it was gonna be going into it?
So after being in undergrad, like which I breezed through also, when I got to law school, it was a reality check. Like you had to. There was so many things, so many assignments before the first class. Like we had assignments before the first day of class. And
never had that.
Had to read like 100-something pages.
No,
I don't even know.
It was a lot of reading.
First year of undergrad.
Yeah.
Oh, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
First year of law school, all the classes there was stuff to read, assignments to do. I'm like, oh my God.
I don't even have a face to put to the teacher, and you telling me to read 150 pages?
That was crazy. And then they just call in on you. I did have a gap between undergrad and then law school. And the gap, I guess, I wasn't reading that much.
Shout out the gap.
I wasn't reading that much. And when I went to law school, I actually was reading so much. Like I used to read myself to sleep, and I'd wake up, and it was like, I read 2 pages. I read 2 pages.
You read yourself to sleep in 2 pages?
Yes, because it was because the language is so dense. Because constantly had to look up, what does this mean? What does that mean? Like, and then really understand it.
You know what it also taught though was like, say you get a case that's like 50 pages long.
Yes.
You already know that first, second, third, maybe fourth paragraph. I don't give a fuck what's in that paragraph.
But you didn't know yet.
You didn't know yet. That's
I was
about
reading
how 1 hour years. It's a hazing.
It's a hazy because they
Figure out the
well,
formula
no.
and you're good.
Yeah.
One thing is because they have these. If you go to law school, they have these books that basically have a summary of the cases, right?
Yeah.
And every professor that you meet that first semester of 1 hour year is going to be like, don't do it that way. Don't read those summaries.
Yes.
That's not the good way to become a lawyer.
I have literally
Yada yada yada.
plagiarized
Bullshit.
to an exam and like
Fuck out of here. None of that shit makes any sense.
It's true.
You should definitely read that Black Law. You should definitely read the cases because that's how you learn how to be a lawyer. But if you want to be prepared for class, you fucking read those summaries.
You know what's interesting?
But-
As we were talking about this, the cold calling thing, I was thinking about like how judges like weren't anchoring or like picking up cases with like warrants and stuff. It's basically a cold call.
It is.
And like you're not prepped for it, but like you sit there and you fumble around a little bit, but like you make it work and you find like the letters or the words or like whatever. It's like.
This is what I would say. I would love to go back to law school just so I don't be so shitty in it.
I wish I had Adderall in law school. That's what I wish.
But just so you know how so I went to law school, like I said, $50,000 scholarship, and you know when I knew I was fucked?
When you lost it.
No, I lost at the end of law school. I knew I was fucked. I was like, maybe I had like a month into law school. I was like, this is not going well. I'm gonna hit up someone who I graduated in college with, right? But she went to law school like the year we graduated. I went 1 year later, and see, like maybe I'm missing something. Like maybe like there's something I'm missing. Like there's a way to figure it out. And I did psychology and history in college, so we both did psychology, so we knew each other. And I hit her up on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, man, like, how was one? Because she's already in 2L. One day I was supposed to be the worst. Like, do you have any, like, could you help him bro out, man? Because this shit ain't going too well. And she took it as an opportunity to tell me about myself. She literally was like, Eugene, you know why you're not doing well? Because all you did was fucking drink and party in college. She still got 97s and shit. And this is her like being bitter because I was nasty in psychology. Jealous. She's like, that's how you were in college. But you know what? You can't do that in law school. Right? So all that.
You can't.
That's like jealous.
Did not do that in law school. She's like, so all that shit you were doing in college don't apply to law school. And that's why you're having a hard time because you don't know how to work. You don't know how to put in that work in. And that's because I was basically trying to ask her for tips. And she was like, there's only one tip and you can't do it, which is put in that work.
I like her. What's her name?
I'm not gonna blow it up. I remember sitting there going, all right, fuck you.
Fuck you, but you're right.
But fuck you. No, I didn't tell her fuck you. But I'm fucked. Because what am I supposed to say to that? I'm gonna learn how to work hard now?
Did you?
No.
Did you?
I mean, no. I tried. No. You know what the funny thing is?
I
Law
saved
school
like
sucks
19
so
hours
much
straight,
that I spent the first 2 months really, really trying to be good at law school. And then I got depressed that it wasn't working. Instead of like, once the depression hit, instead of working harder, I would come home after class and want to fall asleep.
Go to like 3 sheets.
And I would be like, because the thing is, what it was, I'd be so fucking like stressed out that I couldn't study like this.
It's like debilitating.
So it was debilitating. So I would have to fall asleep, and I would sleep so much. So then that's like out of necessity, I could not fit in the 100 pages a day that I had to read. So that's when I was like, fuck what everyone else said. I'm gonna use the Spark Notes of law school. And then once I started doing that, I started being more prepped for class. Because I was more prepped for class, that worry came off my table. And I started like merging the two. Like, well, okay, so then if all you need is these 2-page briefs of these 50-page cases, then what the fuck do I actually need from this thing? And then I started realizing, like, oh, you guys are assholes. Like, I didn't need all this shit.
The only time that I read those 50 pages, it was like a Scalia opinion, and it was just like scathing, and it sounds like you just bitching on people.
Well, you know what's so funny is that, like, I was so far behind in like terms of like absorbing what I was supposed to be absorbing in law school. By the end of 1L year, people started having like very like sophisticated conversations about these opinions. Yeah. And people would be like, yeah, but Scalia said this. And I would be like, who's Scalia?
Oh my goodness.
It was very bad. It was very bad. I felt very dumb.
Just in time committed most of my fucking.
Just to follow up on the case summaries though. I had a professor, I'm not gonna say that person's name, but that professor used to do this, so you couldn't even look at the case summaries and give an answer. They used to make sure they asked something that was within the entire case.
Yes.
It's like the dicta.
Yeah.
Which is like the extra shit that you don't need
Explain
to know,
dicta.
but they ask you about.
Explain dicta, 'cause I don't actually remember.
There's in a case there's like the issue, there's the rule, there's the analysis, and then there's what was it, Iraq?
You sound like you actually did do good in law school.
I worked hard, but like I don't know if it mattered. But I think dicta is like the extra shit that judges say that doesn't really affect the law, but it's just like fun, right? It's like it's not.
I never read dicta.
I mean,
how did you know which part was dicta?
Oh my god.
This is law school for you, right?
I didn't know which part was dicta. I remember, when I first started law school,
there's no way law
school, the 50 pages would be highlighted in like what I thought each part was. So it was like a fucking rainbow of pages.
Oh yeah.
Terrible rainbow. It's just like, this is a waste of fucking time. Luckily for me, as I said before, I was in the bottom 10% of my law school.
Did you say that?
He said luckily for him.
Hey.
Not luckily you lost a scholarship.
It depends if I pay those loans. I don't know. But luckily for me, I was in the bottom 10% of my law school. And because of that, and also lucky for me, the year that I went into my 3L year, my law school, St. John, shout out, thank you for helping me pass the bar. So they put me in this course. So I ended up prepping for the bar for like whole semester, a whole year prior to taking the bar. And that helped me pass. So I just wanted to get you guys' sense of like what that experience was like. Anybody had any memorable stories about taking the bar, about prepping the bars?
So prepping for the bar, I actually went away. I went away to a cabin.
Shout out.
Went to a cabin?
I went to a cabin
Or was it London?
near Albany because I had to get away from society.
For how long?
From I guess from graduation. So graduation was June, May.
You
Yeah, man.
rented a study cabin?
You sound like Justin
got study-
Vernon in
you
Wisconsin
got study
writing a
cabin
Bonnie
money?
Bear album.
This is okay. Shout out to Tone. Me and Tone went up to the cabin in the woods, right? And what we decided.
Yeah, I studied in this cabin, right?
We had distractions at home, so we opted to go study at the cabin.
Okay.
And each day we had a regimen, and what we would do was we did
In a
it
cabin.
In a cabin.
You like chop some wood or shit?
Yo, I did the same thing.
did the same thing?
Black lawyers. I went to the Poconos,
Okay.
2 weeks,
Okay.
cabin, me and the colleague,
Okay.
and studied.
What
We had a
the
regimen.
fuck? What
This
the
is
talking about no
this-
cabin
That's
strategy?
This is the cabin
strategy.
That black money?
Yo, this is what you gotta do because I have a lot going on in my life regularly, right?
You guys are some lucky. You know what I experienced? You know what I experienced?
We can't tell stories.
We
man.
can't tell you the story.
I don't want to hear
I know
about your
cabin wasn't dealing with
peaceful ass
All right,
cabin. Fuck y'all stuff. You know what I experienced? My block was beefing with the other block. I'm like 4 hours into studying on a Thursday, 5 p.m. Bang, 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 bang. Fucking shots outside.
Shout out to the Bronx.
Shout out to the Bronx.
Yeah.
Shots outside. Like, oh shit.
I don't know how to follow that.
Oh shit, they're shooting at each other. My aunt brought me outside. And, yo, DD, you still in the house? Yeah? So, okay. Damn, this is a good reason to study hard. So my favorite bar, so this wasn't after the bar. This is taking the bar. Day one, so for those who don't know, bar is a 2-day exam. I like it.
Depends where you take it.
Really, you gotta.
It depends where you
Right
take
now,
it. So the
really?
New York bar, you have
New York
to,
bar
you have to
today.
specify.
Cali's 3.
So it's day one in the bar. Very stressful situation. But, so we're getting there. So this is the thing. So Jacob Javits Center, it's like,
you the Javits?
you see, yeah, that's like the fucking,
I'm not doing that.
that's like the war zone to do it in. It's like
Nah.
just thousands of
Slash Freedom
chairs.
Buffalo.
And they try to give you a sense of not being scared by breaking the center up in sections.
Nope.
But it's basically there's like a wall, and then there's more fuckheads in the next side of the wall. Just fuckheads the whole way through. So I'm like studying, and you can just feel a tension, just tension all over the place. And like everyone's just worried about plugging in their computer and making sure it's on. There's like a
Yeah, you
like
gotta
a
log into
special
this shit.
ass like website you have to use that while you're taking the test that your essay loads up the correct way.
Got
So
it.
everyone's just making sure that shit's correct. So I'm like, all right, I'm good to go. Taking the test, I'm like chilling. And I'm like, all right, I'm good. Test starts, people fucking open the book. Everyone's just in there like swimwear, like taking their test.
In there like swimwear? Is that what you just said?
You know how tight
the
you have to
fuck
be into
did-
swimwear?
What the fuck? Okay.
You never heard that phrase? In
Go
there
on.
like swimwear, like a scuba diving suit. Very tight. All right. So I was in there, but like I said,
Like somewhere.
I got peripheral vision. I'm from the Bronx. Shit happens.
Oh,
So I don't give a
okay.
fuck what kind of test I'm taking. I still know what's going around in my peripheral. So I'm taking the test. I'm like, oh, that's a person. Okay, it's cool, just a person. Taking the test. Oh, that's a person carrying a person. You might have to look up, Eugene. I know this test is important, but this might be exciting. Okay, Eugene, look up. I just see a proctor, and this proctor's all over the place. The only reason you give a fuck about the proctors is because they gonna catch you, not cheating, no one's cheating on the bar, not how it works, but catch you looking like you cheating.
Yeah.
It's just that.
What
Exactly,
you-
it's the same thing.
So this motherfucker just walking around, and this proctor, this big dude, is just carrying a woman outside of the front of the Jenkins Javits Center, who is laid out like Jesus came off the cross, laid out, like just gone.
You and somebody who sees their
Like just gone, right? This man is just walking.
How long have you been taking the test by now?
10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. So
Even get the logic.
I'm looking at this shit, and I'm like, holy fuck, you're fucked.
You failed.
Not about, oh my God, I was
These are the
over.
things, like,
Nah, you're
they
fucked.
can take you out to center, and you wake up within 10 minutes. You're gonna be so like you're just that 20 minutes can fuck you on the bar.
Yeah.
You're fucked.
It's over.
So I'm just thinking like this is bananas. This is bananas to see. But like, you know, that's not how we're human. We're humans. We want to like enjoy a moment with each other.
Actually,
so I'm looking at James Jennison and like somebody sees this shit. Somebody sees this shit. Nobody saw that shit. Everybody is just. And I'm sitting there going, and I can't go, yo! Like, I can't do that because that's cheating.
Yeah, cheating.
That's cheating.
That's very Bronx.
That's one less person in the percentile. That's one less person in the percentile.
Like, I can't. So I'm like trying to like get somebody to be like, somebody sees this shit. Nobody. So I saw this shit by myself. It might have been a fucking hallucination. 'Cause no one saw this shit. I'm literally going like, nobody. And then I was just like, okay, go back to my test. When did you guys realize you guys wanted to be public defenders? Was it at the job or like if you didn't know you wanted to do it in going into like if you were undecisive, like when did you get your job and when did you finally understand that this is what you wanted to do?
For me, I didn't necessarily want to be a public defender, but I knew that I would have no problem doing it because I wanted to do criminal defense. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, I guess how I get my clients. So being a public defender, you know, now that I have it, I love it. You know what I mean? So that was no problem for me. And I got my job pretty late after the bar, because the bar results came out late October, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then we started training in November, and I didn't find out until like maybe that same week I found out I passed the bar, which is crazy.
Shit.
What?
Yeah, it was wild. It was so wild. And like I said,
Was
like
there any competing offers at that point?
well, so it's funny because like I had said before, like I had interned with a DA's office, so then I applied to them as well, and I never heard back from them.
How far did you get it into the DA office application interview process?
Just the first step. It was just like, you know, we have your application, we're going through it, yada yada. So they
You
make
didn't do any
communication-
second level interviews?
No, that's it. But I wanted to intern with the public defender's office, and I didn't get that internship. So then I'm thinking like, well, you know, they probably don't want me. You know, if anybody, the DA's office would just take me because they know I interned. But I never heard back from them. And then, not expecting to hear back from the public defender's office, I applied anyway, and they're like, yeah, we want you. And I was like, wow, okay, well, cool. And so that's how it worked out for me.
How about you, Kevin?
I had worked in like 2 PD offices throughout law school. One was like a paid law clerk job, which is fucking awesome because you don't really get paid much at all. But it was like mostly legal research and writing. One was actually advocating like in court and arraignments and stuff like that. But like I ended up going to Equal Justice Works in DC. I met Tim Gunn there. That was real cool. But like
Tim Gunn?
Tim Gunn, yeah.
Oh, Tim Gunn.
Who's Tim Gunn?
Awesome.
Who that?
Oh, he dresses well. He's some fashion motherfucker. Whatever. Random thought. But I went there and I interviewed.
Shout
and
out
it was
to
right
Tim
around. I went there and I interviewed with like a bunch of like the major public defender offices. And my interviewing went really well. Like I was like everything just kind of lined up, and like Sandy happened I think around then. It like rolled in, and I remember like talking with some women at like a table talk earlier, and then because of Sandy, like they had to switch around the interviews, and then I just ended up interviewing with her. Like everything just went like very smoothly with Equal Justice Works. So like shout out Equal Justice Works, but like it's probably one of the best. Like I don't think I would have gotten that opportunity, but for going to University of Minnesota. I was really curious in terms of like why like New York offices were looking for like a white kid from the Midwest to be like a public defender.
Can you explain that to me?
Because the job market sucked, and like I wanted to work in
No,
Minneapolis.
not why you wanted done. Why did they want you?
Why
Why
they
do you
want
think
me?
they wanted you?
Yeah, why do you think they wanted you?
I'm passionate about the people that I represent. Like, it's people that are looked at as criminals and defendants, and like they're people. I'm like a psych major, and I come from the background. My mom is like the most caring person in the world. Like she sits there and she looks at somebody, and it's like you look at them like a human rather than like a fucking piece in this machine. And I think that I would try to understand that, and like whether you're guilty or fucking not, it doesn't matter. Like I will represent you either way. I love like the fight, like the underdog like nature of it, like the legal arguments, and like being like it's, yeah, and like just like twisting words and scathing and like bitching at the DA, but like I also love the idea of like wait, but like trying to sell them as like a human. Like these are circumstances that which I don't know coming from the fucking Midwest. Like, but
so, sorry, just to interject really quick, because like being a New Yorker is a little different. So I'm imagining somebody from Brooklyn saying like how do you relate to me? How do I know you're gonna fight for me? Like, I think what Eugene's trying to say is like, how did you make them feel like somebody from Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, like a New Yorker, like feel like that you could represent?
I think there's a difference between making your clients feel that way, right? Which is a question I am gonna ask. But how did you make the person hiring you think you could do that? And to a certain extent, that
Objection.
No, I just think
in terms of
that's the question I'm at. Currently asking, which is that like
in terms of the person hiring me, it's like the dedication to the job, it's the experience,
like
it's taking clinics, taking evidence, taking this, and like, but it's also like the passion that I represent in the interview.
Yeah.
But also, I think that's still the same thing that I bring to my clients and why I connect with them. It's like I don't care if you're guilty. Like it's having that conversation with like a young black kid from Far Rockaway and sitting there and saying like, you know why you got stopped? Because you're young black and you live in Far Rockaway, and like saying it how it is, rather than like trying to like fucking placate or be like this like formal ass lawyer. Like you sit there and you connect with them, and then you develop a relationship. Like
so. You know the crazy thing is that, like I said before, like I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was prepared to do both. I did a clinic for public defense, and the clinic showed me that I really wanted to be a public defender, but I was not in a position to like really choose what I was gonna be. I needed a fucking job, because if I went to law school, got $200,000+ in debt, and did not walk out with a fucking job, I made a huge mistake.
Can I tell you actually the moment when I really got fucking heated about this job and was like, I'm ready to do this shit?
Go for it.
So there was a case in Minneapolis where a client got a tattoo of a like red ghost basically putting a gun in like a pig's mouth, right? And it had like a badge number on the pig.
Okay.
And it was like blowing like the head off of the pig. So it was basically like a blood gang member, right? Like shooting the head off a cop. The officer's name was spelled wrong, but it was an actual officer.
The name was on there too?
Yeah, the name was on there too. So they charged this guy he posted it to Facebook.
They charged
this guy with terroristic threats.
What?
For getting the fucking tattoo, right?
That's
so
overcharged.
basically, like
That's crazy.
The threat is like this threat is real, right? And it's like it's immediate and it's present, right? So if it's so present, why did?
Well, no. That's so.
Wait.
Just so the audience understands, what he's trying to say is, for it to be a terrorist threat, that's what it would have to be. It would have to be real, present, and like.
Sure, there's elements to it that need to be present. But the cop literally who is this tattoo is directed at makes the arrest of the guy. He like pulls him over with like 9 other cops, and they charge him with felony terroristic threats for like a fucking tattoo. And I remember writing this like 40-page. It was fun and it was exciting, and I thought I was so fucked that they were charging him for a fucking tattoo. Like, and I was just like heated, and I was like, the guy was like a nice guy. It was just he just had been wronged by this motherfucking cop. He like stops him too much in his neighborhood, you know?
Yeah.
Like so
speech.
It made me feel sort of alive within the law for like a second.
To be writing about something that you felt was important.
Yeah, like, cause I could go in there and like argue a contract or shit. Like, I don't give a fuck about that shit. This shit is I don't want to say it's fun. That's like a weird way to describe the system, but like
motivating.
It's alive.
Yeah. It's alive. It makes me feel alive, and I get fucking. I mean, we all get beat down, but like, there's those moments you have that like.
So I felt alive about being both prosecutor or public defender, and even before I got the job at being a public defender, I knew I was not going to be a prosecutor. Making it to the second level of the Bronx District Attorney's Office. And I don't give a fuck, because that interview was bananas. I'll throw him under the bus. So I'm at this interview, right? And, you know, like, so first level is like resume. Sometimes they'll do an in-person interview. Second level is like an in-person interview. You might have to like fucking do an argument or open statement. You're gonna have to go over your resume. You have to go over your experience. It's supposed to be a very extensive interview.
So the DA's
like I said,
office.
there's a DA's office.
DA's
It's
office.
kind of the same thing with public defender's office.
Yeah.
Like they're going to decide if whether you can hack it, right? And what they wanted was a personal statement going in. So I told you guys about how I was in Brooklyn Defender's Office, and there was a guy who did a seminar, and like his seminar was all about you guys are here because you guys want to do the right thing. That's the phrase he used.
So
The
that
phrase
was the
that
prosecutor's office.
prosecutor's office.
Yeah.
You guys want to do the right thing, and that was the phrase that I put in my essay. And what he was basically implying is that being an attorney is a skill that you can use to accomplish many goals, right? But if you are like a law firm attorney or contracts attorneys, basically you're just you're a tool that someone else is using to get a goal, whether it's suing somebody or getting a contract that's $1 billion, but you're making money for other people, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it's not necessarily morally correct, right? Like sometimes the good parent is not going to get the kid because the bad parent has the better attorney, or the good company is not going to win the lawsuit because the victim in the car crash has a shitty attorney. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not necessarily doing the right thing for the right client if you work in those fields because you are just an employee of whoever hires you.
But you always are in this job.
Well, that's how I felt going into being a prosecutor. I thought that if I became a prosecutor, I'm always doing the right thing because it's about justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am,
Yeah.
justice. So I'm going to be prosecuting people who committed crimes, allegedly, that I will be able to determine if they actually committed the crimes, and I will be able to prosecute them with what I felt was the right level of authority and law and like. So my essay was literally, I want this job because I want to do the right thing. That I want my job to pay me to do the right thing. That I don't want a job that I'm paid to just do the right thing for a person. Like get them money, get them something, like win a case. I don't want to win a case. I don't want to win a case that I know I shouldn't win. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I don't want to.
Right.
It's like a
Give-
social larger reason.
Exactly.
for-
I want
it's
to
a
do
purpose.
the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's what this
Shout out
guy
Spike
told
Lee.
us in this seminar,
Right.
right? So that's what I wrote in my essay. I wrote this in my essay. And I go into the interview, and I'm thinking like, you know, I'm slightly, like my spelling is terrible. Like I have a slight dyslexia, so sometimes I be mixing up the words. But the themes and the emotions of that essay, on point.
But did you even know
First
what
thing
justice is?
Huh?
Did you even know what
Wait,
justice is
wait,
when
wait.
you interview for them?
You learn that in life. I learned that. Like,
Well,
but like I walk into that interview
Half the DA's office.
after a little while. They're like, so what do you mean about do the right thing?
What is this do the right thing stuff?
What is this do the right thing makes? I'm like, are they fucking with me? This is a test. This is a test. I can explain it. I wrote it. Eugene, just explain what you wrote. Well, I meant that, like, you know, I'm not getting paid just to get a goal. What the goal is justice. Do the right thing. You know, do the right thing. And they're like, no, what do you mean? Because, you know, sometimes you don't know what the right thing is. And, like, you know, I was like, whoa, what the fuck are you guys talking? It felt very, and I, basically at the end of it, I realized that maybe one day I will, and I'm actually applying what I learned in the future, that maybe one day you want someone who's capable of doing the right thing or not doing the right thing. But when you first hired me, man, you might not want me to do the right thing.
I think
You might not want me to do what you think is the right thing, not what my conscience thinks is the right
I
thing.
think interviewing for a PD office is much easier than interviewing for a DA office or like trying to like become a cop, based on what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I didn't know that at the
What
moment, but that, it
justice
was
is.
that interview that made me realize that, like, fuck, man, I grew up in the Bronx, went to college. I went to high school in the Bronx. I went to college in the Bronx. I know Bronx people. I've been assaulted. I've been attempted robbed. They didn't get any of my stuff. I've been through shit. So if anyone could be a prosecutor in the Bronx, I thought I could. But the fact that they were trying to imply their definition of the right thing to me, that was like kind of like the first moment I realized maybe I would be better at a public defender. And I once I became a public defender, I very much realized that, like, at least personally, that is a better experience.
Justice doesn't mean it's necessarily right. I think that's the issue that I think a lot of, prosecutors may have. Like, just because you get justice in a case doesn't necessarily mean that it's right.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Depending on whose justice it is.
That's what I'm saying. Justice is subjective. So who are you to say that that's the right outcome of that case?
Prosecutors take the side of. Sorry, go ahead. Like, they take the side. They think that they're like sort of like pseudo defense attorneys, where they're representing the person that was harmed, the business.
But they're representing the people.
But they're representing the people. They're representing, like,
including my client,
including my client. Yeah, right.
And his family.
Yeah,
or her family.
And actually appreciating his circumstances and coming up to like a reasonable. That's justice.
So this is like a poetic concept I have in my mind, but whenever I think about my clients as a doer of wrong, right? They're the defendants. They did something to somebody. Whether they're actually innocent or guilty, they're accused of doing something, right?
Sure.
What I realize is that if they are guilty of doing that crime, there are two victims in that circumstance. One victim is the victim the person they hurt.
Yeah.
And then, to me personally, the way I look at life, they are the victim of society, because what happened in their life that put them in a situation where they needed to harm another person, right?
And that's the
because
hard
I personally have never been in a situation where I need to rob somebody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You
Need
never
is
been
the
like
wrong
an
word, but like I felt like that was a smart idea, right?
Never been like
and
an
that
evil
if you
client.
actually are committing crimes, so sometimes, obviously, to the rest of society, it's like, why the fuck are you doing that?
Right.
But maybe for you, that's how you
You've
put
never been-
fucking bread on the table. That's how you.
Fear is the biggest motivator. You've never
So,
been that desperate.
and the fact that society has allowed you to get there means you're a victim just as much as your victims are victims.